Breaking political developments have emerged after Andy Burnham was blocked from standing as a candidate in the upcoming parliamentary by-election in Gorton and Denton. The decision was taken by Labour's ruling body following his application to return to Parliament while serving as a directly elected mayor. Under party rules, Burnham required approval from Labour's National Executive Committee after submitting his request over the weekend. Concerns were raised by some committee members about the financial and political implications of triggering a new mayoral election to replace him. Others close to the Prime Minister were reportedly uneasy that Burnham's return to Westminster could fuel leadership speculation or even lead to a challenge at the top of the party. These discussions culminated in a vote that ultimately blocked his candidacy. Before the decision was finalized, the Home Secretary publicly defended Burnham, saying she trusted him and believed his explanation for wanting to re-enter Parliament. She said Burnham had clearly stated that he believed the Prime Minister was the right person for the job and that his motivation was sincere. She added that she had worked closely with him and had no reason to doubt his word, emphasizing that she took his statements at face value. Political commentators were divided over whether the decision was inevitable. Some suggested it was always more likely than not that Burnham would be blocked, particularly given the makeup of the committee and the attitudes reported in the days leading up to the vote. Others argued that alternative approaches could have been
had
taken,
to get approval
and
from
that
Labour's
blocking him
National
might prove to
Executive
be a
Committee
strategic mistake.
after he applied
The
to
broader
be a
impact of the
candidate
decision
on
the
Saturday.
Prime Minister
Some
and the
NEC
Labour
members were
Party
concerned
has
about
become
an
a major
expensive
focus.
mayoral election
One
to
senior
replace
observer
Andy
noted
Burnham,
that there is an
and allies of the
unwritten
Prime
rule within
Minister,
the
Sir
party
Keir
that
Starmer,
decisions
feared
made
that
to
he
benefit
could
a
mount a
particular
leadership
faction
challenge
often
should
end up
he return
backfiring.
to Westminster.
In this case, the attempt to suppress leadership speculation may actually intensify it. Even if Burnham himself was not actively preparing a challenge, preventing him from standing does little to stop wider rumors about leadership ambitions within the party. Instead, critics argue that the move risks making the Prime Minister appear insecure. By acting to remove a potential rival, it sends a message that internal challenges are being avoided rather than confronted. That perception could embolden others who are already being discussed as possible future contenders. Another political correspondent said the outcome was not surprising given early speculation around the by-election. From the moment it was announced, there were rumors both that Burnham would put himself forward and that the party would block him if he did. While the decision followed expectations, it may still carry significant consequences. Several senior figures within the party had publicly suggested that Burnham should not be prevented from standing. Cabinet members and senior mayors had voiced concerns about blocking him, and there are MPs who believe the party has taken the wrong approach. The justification offered by party officials focused on the risk of losing control of the mayoralty and policing responsibilities in Manchester if a new mayoral election were held. There was also concern about the possibility of another party gaining influence in that region. However, critics argue that these explanations will not satisfy everyone. The Labour Party will still be required to fight a parliamentary by-election, and that contest could be just as politically damaging. Potential candidates from rival parties are already being discussed, and the contest is likely to draw intense national attention. There is also concern that the decision will not put an end to internal tensions. Leadership speculation has not been confined to one individual, and other figures within the party have been the subject of briefings and counter-briefings in recent weeks. Observers note that attempts to close down discussion often have the opposite effect, keeping the issue alive for longer. Some argue that a stronger leader would have welcomed the challenge and projected unity by allowing all major figures to contribute from the parliamentary benches. Blocking Burnham, they say, suggests an unwillingness to face internal debate head-on. This risks undermining authority rather than reinforcing it. The electoral implications are another major factor. Labour will face a by-election regardless of this decision. Burnham is widely seen as a popular figure in Manchester and has previously outperformed the party average in local elections. While there was no guarantee he would have won the seat, his presence could have strengthened Labour's chances. If the party loses the seat without him, it may be seen as a self-inflicted wound. National polling has already been difficult for Labour, and a loss in this by-election could trigger a wider crisis. A large existing majority could be overturned, which would raise serious questions about the leadership's direction and strategy. Some argue that even a narrow defeat with Burnham as the candidate might have been easier to manage politically than a loss under a lesser-known figure. Further details later emerged confirming that the Prime Minister himself voted to block Burnham during the committee meeting. Allies of the Prime Minister said Burnham was doing valuable work as mayor and that forcing a new mayoral election would cost significant public money at a time when the country is facing a cost of living crisis. They also said a divisive internal contest would distract from pressing national and international issues. Despite these arguments, doubts remain about whether the explanation will convince party members. Many believe the decision was driven more by internal power dynamics than by practical considerations. The voting figures revealed a clear majority in favor of blocking Burnham, with the Home Secretary abstaining and only a small number supporting his candidacy. This split highlights underlying tensions within the party leadership. While some relationships have shown signs of improvement in recent weeks, this episode may reopen old fractures. How senior figures respond in the coming days could shape the internal balance of power. Looking ahead, many believe it will be difficult for the Prime Minister to fully shut down leadership speculation. Attention is now turning to upcoming elections, which are seen as a critical test. If results are worse than expected, pressure could increase rapidly. If the by-election or future local contests go badly, timelines for internal challenges may move forward. For now, the decision has raised more questions than it has answered, ensuring that internal labor politics will remain under intense scrutiny in the months ahead.